Hey, greetings everyone. Welcome to episode 44 of Lines on the Page. And we are going way back into, I don't really want to say like it's my origin story of sorts, but it's definitely been one of the things that has helped shape me with ideas of character designs and whatever, and that is drawing Final Fantasy characters, specifically Final Fantasy VII characters. Um, Without a further ado, um, I missed you guys. Meant to do the stream last Sunday, wasn't able to because of just schedule conflicts of um, the group of guys that I do music with, and so that's why we're doing it today. Hoping to be able to squeeze one more episode before the end of the year. So all that being said, let's quickly do some housekeeping stuff. And Haven Comics, located 1871 Slaughter Road in Madison, Alabama. And please remember to like and subscribe. Every like and subscribe helps us out immensely. And if you want to know where you can find me on social media, you can find me through my link tree, or if you just go to the search bar and whatever social media I app that you use, just type in at tpriceartworks, and 9 times out of 10 you will find me there. So Final Fantasy VII, this is both my technically first and second Final Fantasy game that I've ever been experienced in playing with. The reason I'm saying both first and second is that a long time ago, you come to find out that a specific Game Boy game called Final Fantasy Adventures is really not a Final Fantasy game. It's actually part of a completely different franchise. They just decided to be really sneaky and use the success of Final Fantasy to promote their games. And I think it was part of the whole Mana series. But anyways, it wasn't until 1997 that Final Fantasy VII came out, and it is a complete landmark within the video game history for several different reasons. The first one being is that PlayStation was not selling well. Their competitors at the time, which was Sega Saturn, which was slowly begun to get dissolved out to become the Dreamcast, and also Nintendo 64, were outselling PlayStation for a couple of years. And so it wasn't until, and also close to $2 million worth of advertising that the hype for Final Fantasy VII really helped push the sales of PlayStation. And so on top of the fact of you're selling several million copies worth of this game within the year that it comes out, but also the sales of the units of specifically the PlayStation console also increases as well. And to this day, really no other console has come close to the amount of success that has happened with the original PlayStation. There's been a few debates here and there with a couple other games, but it definitely kind of pushed that. But I wanted to talk to you guys regarding drawing this and the artist slash concept designer, Tetsuya Nomura, which if you guys have never picked up any sort of art book or anything like that, I do recommend the Final Fantasy archive. I want to say there's 3 volumes, but if you want to focus on the core 10, which personally I believe are the best encapsulation of character design and stuff like that, definitely recommend the first 2 volumes. And this volume 2, just happens to have 7 through 9. But it's really great because you get to see concept designs and the evolution of how they put all this stuff together, and even things as like the very iconic motorcycle scene in the game, the stuff like this. So really, really, really enjoy this book in particular. But yeah, I'm actually going to be using Nomura's design right here and basically working off of it. And we're going to be doing this digitally. If you happen to have, pencil and paper, pen and paper, that also works. Don't worry, don't fret, because, really not doing anything fancy. It's basically just understanding the original design of what he's trying to put out and then my interpretation of said design. And we'll definitely work from there. So, that being said, do this little number. And I hope you guys can still hear me with all of this. But we are going to get straight to it. And yeah, like I said, 1997. It's the first time that I ever, really heard about this game. Super fascinated with the character designs and the story. Else I had of any of the competition that was coming out, not just with like the typical RPG stuff, but definitely within the Japanese RPG realm. You can obviously tell the influence of Nomura's idea regarding the character design of Cloud, which is basically somewhat influenced by the character Guts from Berserk, which that's also a character that I do want to try and get around to drawing him specifically for the live stream. Like always, we're going to be doing our basic shape and just trying to piece these things together so that we get a firm grasp and idea as to how we're going to be putting him together. But as I stated, I cut my teeth, my I guess gamer credibility specifically on this game. I always try to replay this game as often as possible, which I haven't played probably over a year, and so I'm going to be going back to playing this game probably during the holidays if I have the chance to. But I've always, always, always have enjoyed anything and everything regarding this game within the franchise. And the one thing that I've never really understood as to why certain people are thinking that the character Cloud is an anti-hero. He's not. He never was. I get the anti-heroes were like the big thing in the 90s, but he never was. Would I consider him a reluctant hero? Yeah, most definitely. And that was also one of the big things regarding the franchise. It's really big into reluctant heroes, tragic villains, and just the overall scope and depth and um, wide amount of influences, I should say. So in the previous game, Final Fantasy VI, um, there was a lot of elements of steampunk within the just traditional source and sorcery, um, I guess, aspect that would be considered very much on par with the franchise. And this is when we start getting into less of the elements of steampunk, and I guess you could argue to say that there are elements of diesel punk, um, which is a really, really weird subgenre from steampunk. And it basically kind of deals with a lot of technology that would have been considered um, very much in line of the 40s, 30s and 40s and stuff like that, because, diesel engines were the thing. And hmm, all right. I'm actually going to change the angle of this head just a little bit. And like I said, we're basically just trying to figure out the structure and uh, just piecing the character together. And we'll start with I guess, the more intricate pieces regarding the character design. All right. So one of the things that I think, which I understand, it is part of, the character and design. So I think a lot of people put way too much focus and emphasis on the spiky hair, and that's where people kind of put themselves in a bit of a bind. And this is where we start to, I guess in some ways, focus a little bit more on the practicality of it all, which is a hard thing to really say because, this is Final Fantasy we're talking about. There's nothing practical regarding it. So we're going to be doing the hair, I guess, a little bit differently than, I guess, the quote-unquote purist fans are thinking about how it's supposed to be put together. But even the most perfectly coiffed hair, you can't get the spiky unless you're putting like an obscene amount of product in it. But all right. And we're going to go in and start erasing some of these lines just to clean up around the edges. And I'll be going over just specific parts of this on another layer, which is literally no different than, finalizing a specific line here and there. Or, what could be considered like the inking phase, the detailed phase, what have you. Yeah, looks like we got someone in the comments. Hey, Jay, what's going on? Not too terribly bad. It's definitely been a long week, and I guess I'm just getting a little bit more anxious for the holidays to really start. had a kind of a in-depth, funny conversation with Reed earlier regarding just stuff that we both had talked about regarding next year planning and doing stuff, and we definitely got into a topic regarding I guess the lack of, it's not really so much like an art rep as it is like a person that could be considered as a agent, manager, whatever, for particular artists, even, for writers, I should say, which I think they're probably more common for writers than they are for, artists, colorists, so on and so forth. And because, I mean, there are actual art reps that do exist. I know that there's Felix, there's Kirby, there's the Essential Sequential group, which I'm not sure exactly who's in charge of that. So, I mean, those people do exist, but I remember there's a artist name is Source Young, and she's got a agent manager rep guy. His name's Brett. Has been working with her for like the last like decade, I think. And it's just like, man, it's just the fact that well, for one, someone like that even existed. Good on her for getting someone like that, basically just help her out with, just the managerial side of stuff. Because, like, you're, you get two halves of the brain. One half is like the logical, side of stuff, and then the other half is the creative side. Yeah, I keep forgetting which side of the brain is which, for either thing, and but it's you definitely really start to get very pushed and fatigued when you're having to take all of your creative energy and having to stick it within the business side of stuff. And that's definitely, I think, part of the reason as to why you've got, people that are in the industry that are just dropping out like flies, simply because, they're having to juggle so many hats. Just everything from, um, the business aspect of it, the managerial aspect of it, just anything that really should be a hat that someone else should be wearing. We're having to do it all. And I really don't think that a lot of, I guess, people in the everyday really even think about that. Because it really is a lot of work, just trying to do all the stuff from the outside that everyone doesn't really see. And that actually also kind of led into another thing that something I was watching from the Inkpulp podcast. They had Jake Parker, who is the well, for the longest time, everyone thought that he was the originator of Inktober. Apparently, that's not entirely accurate, but he definitely is the person who has copyrighted the term. Um, but there is a thing that he had pointed out regarding um, I guess the economic side of uh, the entertainment art side. And one of the things I've talked about is the fact of the majority of your, at least within the comic industry, the majority of your artists, writers, colorists, inkers, uh, they would be considered like your middle class citizen. Um, and but the problem is that because at one point in time, um, it regarding like page rates and stuff like that, because you've got uh, let me do this real quick. So basically, we was talking about within the page rates and stuff like that. It was possible at one point in time with the amount of page rate or how much a person was being paid within the page rates that it was very, very possible to live strictly off of that, very much like at one point in time the minimum wage before we've had like 4 different inflations within the last 15 years. um, but it was possible to have this thing and work with it. And then within the last decade, at least specifically with Marvel, you would have 2 different page rates for the A-list books and the B-list books. But when you're a person, which both of them were quite good, but when the B-lists, people are noticing that their page rate has been cut anywhere between a third to a half, and it's still the same amount of work that you're having to do, and this is part of your livelihood. And that's when these the artists being the middle class citizen are now starting to become the lower class, and those who just somehow are able to you know have been in the industry for the longest time, and that they are basically a household name, basically, and they're basically kind of considered as the higher class, or the upper class, I should say. And so right now, that middle class of the artist economics is getting smaller, 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 but yet the opposite sides regarding the lower and the higher or upper is getting bigger and bigger and further away from each other. And so, but the thing is that well, what makes I guess the middle class happen, and that is part of it is also people being paid, but then the other part of it is the fact of people are actually buying the products, and companies aren't having to do like 15 variants of one issue for the hopes that it's going to sell, and just not focusing on just putting out an extremely good product. So and there's a lot more to it than just that, but I'm really only focusing on like a specific part within a much bigger conversation. It's definitely something that you guys should definitely check out. Paul podcast on YouTube. So, uh, with Final Fantasy VII, there were a lot of things, like I said, that were very much ahead of their time, especially with it being the 90s. Some of it was just the setting, the gameplay mechanics, which some of them were very typical for, which also were set in stone. Regarding the franchise itself, but just with games in the 90s, you didn't really have an entire mission where you're basically having to go cross-dressing to save your friends, or get in the hot tub full of gay guys. It's just stuff like this that specific people would be, screaming up and down, "Oh, it's woke, blah, blah, blah." Like, this was the norm with Final Fantasy VII. And like I said, it was ahead of its time. It's absolutely hilarious. It was fun. It still is fun. And I absolutely love those things. Like, when they did the remake, they kept the whole cross-dressing side mission. And, they still basically just, kept the whole, plot line and all that sort of stuff, which that was like one of several different things that longtime fans were very, very curious if Square was going to keep it. And thankfully they did. But the second part of the remake is supposed to be coming out very soon. Actually, I want to say beginning of next year, I think. Not entirely positive on that, but I probably should, Google it or open up Steam just to double check and find out. But there were a couple of other big things, like the fact that which this really isn't much of a spoiler, but the idea of, at least in video games, a main character getting killed off in a game, completely revolutionary, that, as far as I know, had never had happened in a video game whatsoever. Or I should say, main character within your playable party of characters. That's not including villains. Should probably change the R pad just a bit. But that also was, groundbreaking territory. It's never happened before. And that particular scene was definitely considered I guess, you know, Empire Strikes Back moment of video games. It's kind of like the shocking moment when we find out that Darth Vader is really Luke Skywalker's father for the first time. It was the death of Aerith was definitely was not something that people would have expected for video game. I'm trying to see how many. I'm having to go back and forth between what I'm thinking versus what I'm seeing. The concept design. Okay. You know, trying to figure out exactly if I like this to continue or I hate doing this to myself, and I never ever put myself in this position. I actually want to slow over. I am so sorry, guys. Hey. All right, let's try this again and make it a little bit better. So there is a secondary reason as to why I'm doing this digitally. I've been working on a lot of concept art stuff for a very unnamed sci-fi project of sorts, comic-wise, which I need to upload some of this stuff, if not all of it, to Patreon for this month's rewards. I've just been so totally swamped and trying to play catch up in everything else that needs to be done. And this goes back to the whole thing of needing some sort of rep / manager / agent, get on my tail about all this stuff. eye, side the nose, and all right. Now we're talking. Need a little bit more attitude coming from Cloud. And ironically enough, the hairstyle is also kind of similar to Goku, if you really think about it. But Tetsuya Nomura, his early art style, I should say, when he was doing stuff in the character design department of Square, is that he definitely came from a manga background, and you started to see that in some of his designs in 6, but he didn't actually really take the lead until Final Fantasy VII, and it's when we start getting a lot of angular haircuts, super ridiculously stylish runway clothing, and the list goes on. All right, so drop the opacity down just a bit so I can see what I'm doing. Which there is a very analog way of doing this. Part of that is if you're using just one sheet of paper, it's basically just lightly erasing over the foundational lines that you're doing. Another way of doing it is with tracing paper, and that's just putting another piece of tracing paper over on top of whatever that you've done to clean up your line work. Using a light box is also another way of doing it. Bring that up just a bit more. Whoops. Yeah, okay. Just making sure that I'm looking at the turtleneck correctly. Hmm. Go back to. Trying to decide which one of these I actually like. Oh man, I'm actually super indecisive. Actually, I think the thing that's throwing me off is that that's what it was. All right. All right. All right. My phone keeps going off right next to me, so like I keep seeing something showing up with a notification. So I'm getting like super distracted by that happening. Not sure who it is, but knock it off. All right, so got Mr. Angsty Angsterson. Probably need to pull in the ear a bit more. All right. All right, so let's zoom out just a little bit and let's start to clean up some of these lines. Okay. We're going to go ahead and throw ourselves into some color territory. Don't see why not. We've got the time. I think here it is. Trying to think. Color palette is going to work for the skin. I think this should work. I'm not liking that very much. Let me. Before I can get to that, let's go back to this. Ah. All right. All right, colors. Ooh. So I'm going back and forth between using a watercolor brush and an airbrush, which you can basically replicate this, you know, going between like a hard and a soft, with markers or even colored pencils. You don't have to have watercolor. Um, but it's definitely one of those things where it's nice to mess around, have little options here and there. All right. Uh, let's try to figure out the. Uh, maybe? I don't know. Whoa, that's way too much. Hmm. Barely even see it. Uh, Let's see what else. Put in a little bit of a darker hue. Just give it a little bit of extra depth. All right, so we've got that, and then we're going to move to It's all right. This, and then we're going to go to the greens. Or trying to see if I can find it. Ah, here it is. Nope. Don't think I'll be able to do it with that. So, we have to change this up just a bit. All right. So here we are. Cloud from Final Fantasy VII. Oops. Okay, so I guess it won't let me do the double. Here it is. Awesome. All right, so there you have it. Cloud for Final Fantasy VII. I hate the fact that I wasn't able to get the full body thing like I was wanting to, but I think this will definitely do as of now. But wanted to thank you guys again. Thank you so much for coming out, even though it's been a while since I've done one of these things. And it's been really interesting just to, I guess, redraw something that it's been a few years since I've drawn anyone from Final Fantasy VII, but definitely from Cloud. And actually, I think it's probably been since 2017, if I remember correctly. Because that was when it was announced that the remake for 7 was supposed to be coming out. But not too terribly bad, considering the fact that, it is a bit of interpretation, but, given the fact that I'd say it's not too bad or too far off. But like I said, I definitely recommend the Final Fantasy Ultimate Archive, or if you're a person like me who's able to find these extremely rare and in the wild, but you're wanting to learn more about character design and stuff like that, I definitely do recommend picking up the Art of Final Fantasy IX, which weirdly enough, even though 7 was my favorite game for the longest time, it's been very much a coin toss between 6 and 9. Within maybe the last 5-6 years, part of it is just music, gameplay, story, but I think just as I've learned and grown and appreciate about a lot of stuff regarding the process of character design and world building and stuff like that, I've really appreciated 6 and 9 a lot more than I do 7 now, compared to when I was like, how old was I in 1997? Math, hard. 10 years old when Final Fantasy VII came out. So I would say, there's definitely some growth and deeper appreciation for other things instead of just being so honed and fixed on with specific franchise character, which is hard. Because, you got people that are, diehard Deadpool fans, or diehard Wonder Woman fans, or Jonah Hex. I don't know. Just pick something. You're going to find a diehard, fans of this franchise. But it's definitely one of these things where it's nice to appreciate and learn and grow. The more and more that you do this stuff. And of course, I don't draw the same way that I did back then, at all. So it's definitely interesting to see that growth and push now compared to when I was, drawing back during that time period, which was just for fun. Didn't even think about comics as a viable, possibility of trying to create a future out of. But it does exist, and these things do exist. But yeah, so all that being said, it's been good. It's been fun. I will let you guys know if when episode 45 will be dropping. Like I said, I'm hoping to do episode 45 before the end of the year. So I think we got, 2 more weeks left? Yeah. 3. Well, technically 2. New Year's Eve. Yeah. It's just like by itself. Lonely 31. But yeah, I will let you guys know what's going to happen. Don't think it will be on Christmas Eve, but if it does, it'll be very short and sweet. Definitely something that I would consider an end cap of the year. 45 episodes, within a year time span. That's really not bad whatsoever. Um, so yeah, well, okay, I take that back. I mean, I did technically start lines on a page before the, well, maybe it has been a year. I want to say it has been. Let me double check before I say anything more. Yeah, the first episode was no, yeah, because episode one was definitely way back then. So yeah, that's definitely there. Tis truth. Yeah, I'm trying to scroll back just to see if I can figure out how far back we're going. Yeah, because episode one was Lady Galadriel, streamed a year ago. So yeah, it's definitely going back. Man, so much in a year, so much. All right. Well, yeah, I think episode 45 should definitely be one of these kind of like reflecting back with the stuff that I've done this year. Things that I'm hoping for next year. Anything that I can say without speaking, or I should say jinxing, anything that is supposed to be under wraps. So I got to double check my planner about all of that. But yeah, there you have it. All right, gang. I'm going to call this a night, and I wish you all a good rest of your week. So I end it all off per usual housekeeping. Haven Comics located 1870 Slaughter Road, Suite F in Massa, Alabama. And please remember and subscribe. Click that notification bell. Share these videos. Comment underneath them. It does help us out immensely. Which, speaking of, regarding Haven Comics, I have within the last week have tried contacting some of you guys just to let you know that bit of a courtesy call. People's boxes are getting a little bit full. I get that some people have been stupid busy because it is the end of the year and everyone's doing their own individual Christmas plans. But if you have not stopped by Haven Comics to pick up your comics yet, please do. That would mean the world, not just to me, but also to Josh. Because, I mean, he is the man with the plan, and the person who has an obvious and endearing love for the medium that is comics. So that being said, please, during store hours, stop by Haven Comics, pick up some stuff that you've got already in your subscriber box, pick up some stuff you've never even read before. This is the perfect time for you to be picking up things to read in the downtime. Because, I mean, who doesn't want to, spend their Christmas reading some really awesome stories? I know I do. And I know you do too. Well, if you want to figure out where you can find me, you can find me through my link tree at tpriceartworks, or you can just type in the search bar of your favorite social media network at tpriceartworks. 6 out of 10, you will find me there. And if you have found me through this YouTube page, awesome. I'm on other places as well, and you can also find me on my Patreon, which is through my link tree as well. We'll be posting a bunch of concept art and stuff, which are both rewards for last month and this month at the same time. So it's going to be a giant smorgasbord of drawings and sketches and vehicle designs and things. So yeah, pretty stoked about all of this. All that being said, wish you all a good night.